VSiN's, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show, only on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We're an hour away from kickoffs in those 1 o'clock Eastern windows. And joining us right now, courtesy, we got Rich Gannon over there. I am Tim Murray here in studio. And as always, joined by the owner and CEO of Circa and Circa Sports, Derek Stevens. Best time of year, Derek. You're a baseball guy. World Series, games 1 and 2, Friday, Saturday. How about that finish on Saturday? Monday night, we get game 3. NBA's going, NHL. Not a bad time to own a sports book.
Oh, my gosh. I'll tell you what. It was popping in here. That was something. The crowd for the World Series games, we knew, New York versus L.A. was going to be something special. But I think the vibe inside the sports book might have been the strongest or biggest that we've ever felt since Circa opened. I mean, this was unbelievable what was going on this weekend.
All right, Derek, let's get to the Circa Survivor. Down from more than 14,000 entries to 213. A lot of people looking at the Broncos and your Lions as picks this week.
Yeah, Rich. We're down to that going into the week 214. The number one selection is Denver, which is really what we expected. Denver had a substantial amount of availability. 99 Circa Survivors are on Denver this weekend. And, I did say 214, but you're right. You're right, Rich. One went down already, so we're at 213.
Man, took the Vikings on the road, huh? Maybe they pulled did they pull the double option? You've talked about it so much. If you're this far into the game, there was one person who had the Rams, one person had the Vikings. Was it the double option?
It could have been.
Yeah.
It could have been. I was a little surprised on that in the one selection on the Vikings when there's a lot of other options out there. The second most selected choice was the Lions. And this, you can kind of understand it just from a point spread perspective, but at the same point, you're making a decision now. You're making a decision on Thanksgiving, so you knock the Lions out of your Thanksgiving opportunity. It doesn't look like Dallas is going to be much of a Thanksgiving opportunity.
Who are you going to go with? Green Bay at home?
You got to go with Green Bay at home.
Yeesh.
I mean that's clearly the play. Anybody that's taken the Lions this weekend has made the decision that they're saving Green Bay for Thanksgiving night.
Yeah, for those who are unaware of Circa Survivor and the unique wrinkle that you guys have added, it is Thanksgiving and Black Friday. So in theory, Kansas City could be an option there for that Thanksgiving day as they host the Las Vegas Raiders. And then Christmas Day is also its own day as well. So that's always a unique challenge as you get down to that point. Rich and I have been talking about it so much about the Jaden Daniels availability. Is he available? Is he not available? Booking this game, and you guys pride yourself on trying to never take games off the board. How did your risk team go about booking this game all week? Because it seemed like it was trending like he wasn't going to play, and then late last night we see the tweet from Adam Schefter saying, oh no, he's going to try to give it a go.
Yeah, I mean, our philosophy going in is that we're going to take bets. Mm-hmm. So, all week we're at 2.5 basically. We did pop to a 3. Which gets dangerous, and then boom, like right now, we're at pick'em. So all you can really do is just take that philosophy. You're going to take bets. The number's going to move. You just got to be ready to move quick and hard.
All right, let's talk a little bit. Some money coming in, Derek, on the Cleveland Browns, which I think is interesting. You look at Jameis Winston. He's kind of the X factor. He's got a losing record as a starting quarterback, but I think anything was an upgrade over what they had with Deshaun Watson, who really, I think, lost his confidence in the offense. They've got a new play caller. Ken Dorsey's going to take over the play calling responsibility. So a lot going on in that one between Baltimore and Cleveland.
Yeah, and Rich, you right out the gate, you jumped into what's the number one decision for the House right now. The House needs the Ravens. That is the number one decision currently at Circa Sports for today. At this point in time, it's been all Cleveland money. Even though the lines come down, which is a bit curious.
Yeah.
But it's been all Cleveland money, even though the line's gone from 9 down to a 7.5 at this point in time. It is so one-sided that I don't believe there is any chance of getting out on this particular game. House is going to need Baltimore.
You know, and this is this one of the kind of the unique spots. Derek Stevens, owner and CEO of Circa, you guys have prided yourselves since opening up the doors of being the shop that's going to have higher limits. You're going to want to bring in those, those pros, those sharp bettors. I would think the average bettor, because I'm looking at our betting splits over at VSiN.com, which utilizes DraftKings. 79% of the bets are on the Baltimore Ravens there. So is this one of those situations where you find yourself, not that you have to call out a specific book, but you guys find yourself in a unique spot versus maybe some other shops across the country?
Yeah, I think this is a perfect example. I mean, I know we took a couple of pretty big six-figure bets on this, and it kind of puts us in maybe a different position. It's also, a good example of why it's important for everybody to have a couple of different apps on your phone. You got to go shopping. But yeah, we probably stand out a bit more maybe than others on things of that nature.
Derek, I'm always concerned and curious when we have change at quarterback. And I look at this situation in Miami, a lot of excitement. Tua Tagovailoa be back under center. He's missed over a month of football. And yet, you get the sense there's a lot of excitement that this offense is going to look like it did last year. And yet, they didn't get off to a great start when he was in there. Just your thoughts on what's happening in that Miami-Arizona game. Well,
I think the one thing we're seeing is money just come piling in on these receivers on overs. The receivers for Miami have not done much in the last 4 weeks. But I think that's the one thing we're seeing. We've just seen a ton of Tyreek over money coming in, and I think, Rich, you're right on. I mean, there's some renewed excitement here with the Miami Dolphins coming in. I think you're going to see. You're going to see some more money coming in on these totals. Just people are excited about maybe this Dolphins high-powered offense coming back. The question is there some rust, or is this something that Tua could just jump right in and get back to it?
We're talking to Derek Stevens, owner and CEO of Circa and Circa Sports, here on the VSiN Pro Football Tailgate Show. You guys have done a great job over the past couple of years of housing and being kind of the spot for the visiting team for whoever is playing the Las Vegas Raiders. You guys pull up events here. And the Kansas City Chiefs, they come here every year, but they come here a lot. And they've made Vegas a very familiar spot for them. But what's interesting to note about this game, Derek, is that you guys have seen some Vegas money come in. You're down to 8 here. So what's the action been like on Chiefs and Raiders for, I believe, 4:25 kickoff here in town?
Yeah, it's still a little early, so the majority of the action is still going to come in, subsequently. But right now we're holding the number at 8.5. We were at a 10 earlier in the week, down to 8.5. So we did see some Raiders money. We're down to 8 now. We're down to 8 now. Yeah, I wrote down the 8.5 when I came down from the office, so it's moving. So yeah, the Raiders have been the side that's been getting the money. I was just upstairs. I just saw a pretty massive money line bet come in on the Raiders as well. So it's been all Raiders money. Some of it has to do with it's the Chiefs' third time playing in Allegiant in a year. Yeah. In a year. And there's a little bit of a thought that maybe the Raiders defense can hold up against the Chiefs. We've had a couple of pretty interesting games between these two teams in the last couple of years.
Christmas Day.
Yeah.
All right, Derek, let's talk about Sunday Night Football. It doesn't quite have that feeling of Cowboys-Niners like we're used to, right? When you look at the injury report for both teams, I think it certainly had an impact on Brock Purdy when you look at the wide receiver situation in San Francisco. The Cowboys got to have it. This is a very interesting one on Sunday night in Santa Clara.
Yeah, it's not the way everybody thought it would be. It's not the 49ers at Dallas of old. But I think you nailed it. I mean, it's injuries, and that's what's really taken away from this game. I mean, San Francisco is beat up. Their skill position players are hurt. There's still some question as well with is Kittle. Has it been announced? Is Kittle playing? I mean,
he's expected to play, but he's not healthy, fully healthy.
So on the receiver side, who's going to be number one? Pearsall?
Ricky Pearsall. I mean, the thought is that Debo's going to give it a go, which is kind of wild considering he had pneumonia earlier this week and was in the hospital. So, yeah, it is. It might be a lot of Jordan Mason tonight. That might be a way to look.
Yeah, I would say that by the time the night's over, I'd say that's going to be the most wagered game of the day. It's just not. It has not been yet the most wagered, and throughout the week it hasn't been wagered just because there's too much injury uncertainty.
It was interesting to note, Derek Stevens here in studio. You guys always tweet out at Circa Sports on social media the selections in the Circa Million contest, and the number 2 most selected team this week was the Green Bay Packers, and in the contest it was -4. Interesting to note, today we've ticked down to 3.5. So what have you guys seen on this one, Packers and Jaguars? And you guys are sitting right now 3.5.
Yeah, this is the third biggest decision for the house today. And it's all been Jaguars money. It has all been Jaguars money. I'm a little surprised at that, but it's been that way throughout the whole week. It just hasn't let up. No big bets, but it's just been consistent Jags money all week long.
Has anybody watched the Jaguars play defense over the last 7 weeks? I'm just curious. I'm just asking for a friend, Derek. Don't just throwing that out there.
Yeah, that's why I'm a little surprised as well here, but I don't. But somehow the Jags have become a sexy play here in Week 8.
Yeah, they finally got it done over there in London. I actually took the Jags in the contest at +4, so I'm going on the opposite side of what was one of the most consensus selections in Circa Millions. However, it's a spot I guess some sharp money has come in on. Biggest decision, Derek, final seconds here of that opening window?
Biggest decision, House needs the Baltimore Ravens today.
There you go, Baltimore Ravens. That's Derek Stevens, owner and CEO of Circa and Circa Sports. We're live here at the Circa Sportsbook. That's Rich Gannon. There you see folks starting to trickle in as we are less than an hour away from 8 1 o'clock games.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Coming up Monday on Follow the Money, Nick Bogdanovich to look at the openers in college football. We'll recap a great weekend with the NFL and college, and the World Series continues with Game 3. Follow the Money weekdays, 4 to 7 Eastern on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Want to see who at VSiN is on a hot streak? Go to VSiN.com/picks to see all the selections and weekly leaderboard of VSiN hosts, writers, and guests. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber and get every pick sent to your inbox daily. Just head to VSiN.com/pro.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
watching VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We are getting close, less than 45 minutes away from those 1 o'clock games getting rolling. That's our MVP, Rich Gannon. I'm Tim Murray. Great to talk to Derek Stevens, and always interesting to hear who the house needs, and books differ. And Derek had a great piece of advice that many of you may know, but maybe you're newer to the sports gambling landscape. Have multiple options out there, because I can tell you one thing, Rich, Circa Sports needing the Ravens is a bit of a unique situation, because I bet you most books out there are going to need the Browns today as well. So it was interesting to hear that at least at Circa, it's been all Browns money, and that number has dropped down to 7.5. And we will see if it gets to 7. But pretty much across the board, that has been the biggest mover of the day. Cleveland down to a 7.5-point dog at home against Baltimore.
And when I see spreads that big, it always concerns me, Tim, especially when you consider this is a divisional game, right? And there's some history between these two teams, and the Ravens have been on a roll right now, right? So you're always worried about a team's ability to handle some success, and the fact that there's some significant changes with this Browns offense. You've got a new play caller, and you've got a new quarterback. So to me, that's one that I would keep an eye on.
What do you make and expect from Jameis today as he steps in? We see last week, and we talked about it last week, where Dorian Thompson-Robinson, surprisingly to most, was upgraded to the backup. We see Deshaun Watson go down with the Achilles injury. DTR comes in, he gets hurt, and Jameis, as the emergency quarterback, steps in. And granted, it was complete mop-up duty, but the offense seemed to move a little bit more fluidly with Jameis at quarterback.
Yeah, I think you get the good and the bad with Jameis. That's just the way it is. He's got a losing record as a starting quarterback when you look at his tenure with the Saints and the Buccaneers. And I think, he'll make some big plays, and then he'll turn around and throw it to the wrong team. So that's a concern anytime you see Jameis Winston. The other difference you'll notice is he doesn't have the explosiveness, the ability to create and manufacture as much offense on his own, more of a pocket passer than Deshaun Watson.
All right, let's get to some more 1 o'clock games, and we'll start in New England. We talked about this game in the first hour with Michael Lombardi, and the unique situation where Gerard Mayo, the head coach of the Patriots, called out his team, called them soft for their loss over in London. They come back from London, no bye week for the Patriots, and they take on the New York Jets. The Jets' best game of the year, without fail, was that Thursday night dominant victory over the Patriots in Week 3. They're laying 7 here. Allen Lazard, a surprise scratch in this one. So Jets as a 7-point favorite, Rich, against the New England Patriots.
Yeah, Jets currently on a 4-game losing streak. I believe their fan base, Tim, is tired of all the excuses. I think it's time for them to unload on some weaker competition. They'll certainly get that opportunity today against the Patriots at Foxborough. The Patriots, they have problems on both sides of the ball, but especially on the offensive side of the ball. I think the rookie quarterback, Drake May, has been a positive. But New England is averaging just 14 points a game. They're 31st in passing, just 151 yards a game. And they need reinforcements along that offensive line and at the wide receiver position to be more competitive. I think, look at Aaron Rodgers on the other side of it. He's off to his worst start as a pro, but the passing game should be a week better with Devontae Adams, and the pass rush should be better with the addition of Hassan Reddick, who ended his holdout. 4 straight seasons with 10 or more sacks for Reddick. So that's good news, I think, for the Jets defense. But at 2-5, I think the Jets are running out of time. With that record, they have a 25% chance of advancing to the postseason. They've got to have it today in New England.
Rich, what do you expect from Devontae Adams? Game 1, 3 catches, 30 yards. He was targeted 9 times in that contest. So right now at DraftKings, Devontae Adams over-under on receptions is 5.5, minus 125 to the under. Receiving yards is set at 61.5. Do you anticipate full week of practice and prep, a more productive Devontae Adams this week?
Yeah, he should be better, right? He should be more comfortable in the system. I think that hamstring certainly, every day he gets more treatment and he gets, more comfortable in the system is a positive. However, no one's going to listen to me in New York, but if you want to win this game, you want to make the postseason, start handing the football to Breece Hall. Forget about Aaron Rodgers. He's still talented. He can still get the job done, but don't force the issue. Their best player, their best chance right now, trust me, is Breece Hall and this running game.
The creamsicle jerseys will be donned down in Tampa today, and they are hoping that they could have someone else step up with the injuries that they have at wide receiver, Rich. So we know Chris Godwin done for the year. Mike Evans dealing with that hamstring injury that he sustained on Monday night. He's out for this game. We saw Baker Mayfield walking into the stadium today, Raymond James Stadium down there in Tampa, repping his teammate's jersey, Chris Godwin. This number has moved a little bit today. We've seen some Buccaneer money hit the market. This is at some shops, including Circa, down as low as 1. So some money coming in here on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What do you expect from the Buccaneers? Short week, and they need some new pieces to emerge with Godwin and Evans being out.
Yeah, tough spot to be in. 2, 4, and 3 teams that are difficult to figure out because of their defenses. Both units have struggled. The Bucs have allowed 104 points the last 3 games, the 31st in total defense, and they've missed 78 tackles this year. So they've got issues on that side of the ball. And, of course, on the offensive side of the ball, no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. Well, how does this impact Baker Mayfield? He already has 18 passing touchdowns, 3 more than any quarterback in the league. So I think that's going to fall on Liam Cohen, their offensive coordinator, and Baker Mayfield, to be patient, to be disciplined, and to rely on that running game. They've got 3 really good running backs, so they're going to have to be able to run the football a little bit today. The Falcons, aren't much better defensively, Tim, against the pass. The big reason why is because they can't get to the quarterback. They have just 6 sacks this season, which is the fewest in the NFL. Now, remember, the last time these 2 teams got together, Kirk Cousins went off. He dropped the house on the Buccaneers defense in that Week 5 overtime win. He threw for 509 yards, a franchise record. Kirk Cousins already has 3 fourth-quarter comebacks. This is going to be a shootout. I know that Baker Mayfield doesn't have his top 2 receivers. He'll still put up some big numbers against this Falcons defense.
Kirk Cousins, if you're wondering, 508 yards the last time these 2 teams faced, just 3 weeks ago on that Thursday nighter. His over-under at DraftKings, 246.5 for a player prop. Baker Mayfield, 227.5. These are the 2 favorites in the NFC South. Falcons minus 165 and the Buccaneers plus 150. A win today would be massive for the Falcons. That would give them a season sweep over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We got so much going on across the sports world. We talked to Derek Stevens, and he said maybe one of the best atmospheres they've had has been this weekend during some of those World Series contests. And we've got all 4 major sports happening. The sports equinox is here. So celebrate the best time of year as a sports bettor with our new sports equinox special. You get full VSiN Pro access to everything we do through May 1st. That's daily best bets, betting splits, plus we got exclusive betting content on the World Series, college football, the rest of the NFL season. College basketball starts a week from tomorrow. Our college basketball guide is out now. NBA and NHL regular seasons. You get it all for less than $20 a month, folks. So don't miss out on this limited time offer. VSiN.com/subscribe. VSIN.com/subscribe. Another need for the house, at least at Circa, is the Green Bay Packers. They would like the Green Bay Packers to take care of business. Money has been coming in on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think you're a little surprised by this one, Rich. Jacksonville hosting the Green Bay Packers. This number down to 3.5 in favor of the Packers on the road here against the Jags.
Yeah, I love Jordan Love's aggressiveness, but he has to learn that not every meal needs to be a buffet where you keep going back for more. He's got to learn some discipline. He's got to learn to take the checkdowns once in a while instead of always going for the home run shot. He's already thrown 8 interceptions. You look at the Jacksonville offense, Tim, they've actually played better here the last 3 weeks. They're averaging 28.3 points a game after just 15 points in their first 4 games. And Trevor Lawrence's numbers have improved as well. The first 4 games of the season, he was completing 53%. That number's jumped to 74% here the last 3 weeks. But the Packers have the better defense. They have the better quarterback and the better coach. They should take care of business today in Jacksonville.
3.5 is the number. I did take 4 in the contest here on Jacksonville. I'll say this, no Travis Etienne today for the Jacksonville Jaguars, so another potential of a big moment here. Tanks Bigsby really has played well. His over-under on rushing yards today, Rich, is 65.5. And what did Zeke Elliott used to do when he was running? He would do this, keep feeding me. Kind of feel like that's going to be the MO here. Keep feeding Tank. 65.5 is his over-under today for rushing yards.
And don't forget about Evan Ingram. I'm just telling you,
Yep.
the guy had 114 receptions last year. He got hurt week 1. He missed 4 games. He's got 15 receptions here the last 2 games of the season. That's the guy that Trevor Lawrence looks to in a critical situation, Evan Ingram, their tight end.
Yeah, looking at his prop for today, Evan Ingram, and we talked earlier today about some of the props that are out there for Evan Ingram. Looking at his number, it is 49.5 over-under at DraftKings, -130 to the over. We're seeing the board light up as we have 8 games in that early window. No London game today, no bye week. So in total, 14 games today. We'll get you updated on all the injuries, and we'll continue to hit some of these early window games, including the Texans on the road or hosting the Indianapolis Colts. Right now, the Houston Texans around a 5-point favorite with a total of 45. That's Rich Gannon. I'm Tim Murray. We keep rolling through, hitting as many games as possible to get you ready for a absolutely loaded day today, week 8 continuing. And there you go, the crowd continuing to fill in here to the Circa Sportsbook. It's going to be a phenomenal day of NFL action. More VSiN Pro Football Tailgate Show next.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup. Then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
You're watching VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
The board is lighting up as we are 30 minutes away from kickoff of 1 p.m. Eastern Time games. That's Rich Gannon, our MVP here at VSiN. I'm Tim Murray, live from the Circa Sportsbook in downtown Las Vegas. The Detroit Lions. People can't get enough of them, Rich. Now a 12.5-point favorite across the board against the Tennessee Titans. Another notable line move today. Circa has now moved to 7 on Cleveland and Baltimore. The money continues to roll in on the Cleveland Browns, as Derek Stevens let us know earlier in this hour. Here at Circa, can't speak for other books, but at Circa, the biggest need in that 1 o'clock window will be the Baltimore Ravens. They need the Ravens to cover over the Cleveland Browns, as money has been flooding in on the Fighting Jameis Winston's, Rich, here in that early window.
Divisional games, Tim, always tough to predict. And, you always worry if you're John Harbaugh, the head coach of the Ravens. This is a team that is on a roll right now, right? And you always worry about a team's ability to handle success. And I just think you're going up against a very desperate team, a team that has changed play callers on offense. They're going to turn from Kevin Stefanski, their head coach, to Ken Dorsey. And you've got a new quarterback in there in Jameis Winston. I think he'll provide a spark for an offense that has been grossly underperforming here the first 7 weeks of the season.
All right, let's get into a game we had teased at the last segment. The Texans taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Believe it or not, the Colts, the best cover team in the NFL this year. They've been tremendous against the spread. C.J. Stroud has just looked a bit off. They lose that game last week. He's held under 100 yards on the road at Green Bay. They lose 23-22 at the gun there. So what do we make of this one today? 4.5-point favorite are the Houston Texans at Circa. 5's pretty much elsewhere across the market.
Well, let's start with the Colts. I mean, right now, Anthony Richardson, Tim, is a liability in the passing game. He's completing a league low 48% of his passes. He's thrown twice as many interceptions as touchdowns. Now, as you pointed out, they've actually won 4 of the last 5 games, but they've all been nail biters. All 7 of their games have been decided by 6 points or less. So I give Shane Steichen and that staff there in Indianapolis real credit for overcoming some adversity at the quarterback position. I'm not so sure this guy is ever going to figure it out, Anthony Richardson. He's a talented, athletic guy, but he's very inconsistent throwing the football from the pocket. We talked a lot about Jonathan Taylor. He's missed the last 3 games. They're going to need a big effort from, I think, the running game to have a chance today against Houston. You look at Houston, you mentioned C.J. Stroud. Very uncharacteristic performance from him last week, just 86 passing yards in the loss to Green Bay. Fewest passing yards in any game of his career. But Houston is 7-0 following their last 7 losses. So I think this team will respond. Also, the Texans were without 6 starters on defense against the Packers. They're still number 1 in total defense. And a big reason why is because they have pass rushers and cover corners. Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter have been a handful rushing off the edge. I really like Houston at home. I think the Colts will play them tough, but I think Houston, coming off of the kind of performance they had last week in the loss to the Green Bay Packers, left them smarting, and I think we'll get a big day from C.J. Stroud in the passing game.
Rich, what have you made of C.J. Stroud so far this year? We mentioned last week in the 24-22 loss to the Green Bay Packers, just 10 of 21, held to 86 yards through the air, sacked 4 times. What have you seen from C.J. Stroud so far this year?
Well, I think they missed Nico Collins. I don't think there's any question about that. I need more from Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell in the passing game. And I think they can't forget the fact that Joe Mixon is a part of the passing game as well. So I think it's getting back to basics a little bit. I thought they were just out of rhythm last week against a pretty good Green Bay defense. But something wasn't right last week with C.J. Stroud. I think he'll respond this week. He's a talented player, Tim. Of all the quarterbacks I've studied coming out of college, he's the one that maybe surprised me the most last year. I didn't know that when you consider the situation in Houston with a first-time head coach, a first-time play caller, and a rookie quarterback, the fact that he threw the ball almost 500 times and only threw 5 interceptions, I mean, I took notice. There's a reason why he was the runaway favorite for the Offensive Rookie of the Year last year. I think he gets back to playing that type of football here in the second half of the season.
The big news that came out early this morning or late last night, depending on where you were, that Jaden Daniels, who has been listed as questionable, officially listed as questionable, is expected to give it a go. Now, we will see how warm-ups go, but Jaden Daniels is expected to play today. That per Adam Schefter and other media reports now circling out. And Washington, who was a 3-point underdog a good chunk of the week, has now emerged as either a pick'em or a -1 favorite. So with Jaden Daniels now in for Washington, not officially, but anticipated to be, Rich, what should we expect today in the nation's capital with Washington hosting Chicago?
Well, I think we have to wait and see, right? I'm always concerned when you have a young player, a rookie quarterback, doesn't practice on Wednesday and Thursday, does very little on Friday. What's he going to be like? Particularly if he has to get that area injected prior to the start of the game and maybe again at halftime. So I think this will put a lot of pressure on Cliff Kingsbury, the offense coordinator, who's done a phenomenal job, Tim, building a game plan and really an offensive system around what Jaden Daniels does well, what he has a history of doing. You go back and study him at LSU. So it's gonna be interesting to see. Here's why I don't think it's a fair fight. I don't think Jaden Daniels is anywhere near 100%. And he doesn't have the defense behind him that Caleb Williams does in Chicago, right? So you look at what Caleb Williams has done here since week 2. He's really improved. He's thrown 9 touchdowns and just 3 picks in his last 4 starts. DeAndre Swift and Keenan Allen have come on as well. And I think, make no mistake about it, it's always, and it always will be about defense in Chicago. The Bears have a top 5 defense, and they have the 3rd most takeaways with 13. So I just think if you're going into a fist fight, right, I want to have somebody behind me, right, with a couple baseball bats. And Caleb Williams has that, right? He's got that with that defense. That's not the case with Jaden Daniels. Washington has given up a lot of explosive plays and has struggled a little bit defensively. So I'm not so sure this one's a fair fight.
Washington this year 5-1-1 against the spread. That one push was late money coming in on Baltimore, getting it up to 7, and that game landed 7. Chicago 4-1-1 against the spread. Washington has been a cash cow to the over, 5-2 to the over so far this year. The one bet that I did make and I added to my card, and we're going to get to our best bets here, Rich, is Caleb Williams to go over his rushing yards. We saw that athletic ability come out when he was over in London 2 weeks ago against the New England Patriots, and we saw it from time to time when he wanted to at USC. I still remember that crazy scramble that he had in the regular season finale against Notre Dame that kind of clinched him the Heisman Trophy. Him being back home from that area, a common play is playing Patrick Mahomes in primetime games, going over his rushing yards. I think this is a big spot where we could see a young quarterback like Caleb Williams utilize that athletic ability, especially in that 4:25 Eastern window, got flexed to that spot, and him being back home in front of so many familiar faces.
Yeah, Tim, when I evaluate the quarterback position, there's a couple things I look for. I think first and foremost, it's physical and mental toughness. I think secondly, though, it's the ability to create and manufacture some offense on your own. It's the ability to use your legs, right? You got some of the best pass rushers in the world that you face each and every week. You have to be able to move. You have to be able to escape pressure. He's done a really nice job of that. What I wasn't aware of when I studied him at SC was how strong he is in the lower half of his body. He's got some, you see him break out of arm tackles. You see how strong he is in the pocket. He reminds me a little bit of Baker Mayfield in terms of the strength in the lower part of his body, his core strength. So he can run with the football. He's been a little bit reluctant to do that when you look at what he's done. But this Washington defense has given up a lot of explosive, not just in the passing game, but in the running game. So I kind of like Caleb Williams. I think he's a talented player that can make plays in and outside the pocket, and he can run for a couple first downs each week as well.
If Jaden Daniels does play, this will be the 5th time all-time that we have the number 1 pick versus the number 2 pick in their rookie seasons. If you're wondering, the number 1 pick has got 2 wins. The number 2 pick has got 2 wins. Hey, folks, bet horse racing's premier year-end event, the Breeders' Cup, on Friday, November 1st and Saturday, November 2nd, and do it with FirstBet. Sign up at firstbet.com with the promo code VSiN200 to claim a 20% rebate for your first 60 days. That's up to $200. Once again, FirstBet.com VSiN.com, and the promo code is VSiN200. All right, before we get on out of here and do a little no huddle and go through every game on the board, Rich, let's get to your best bets for today.
Well, there's a lot of great games out there. I mentioned this Philly game with Cleveland. I like Philly getting points on the road. I just think that, offensively, Jalen Hurts is going to do what he has to do. I think running the football with Saquon Barkley is a big part of it, but I like Philly getting points on the road. That Dolphins one is intriguing because I think Tua is ready to play. I think he's been on the practice field. I think he's been in the meeting rooms. And I think Mike McDaniel knows they have to open things up and they have to have some success early. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle could have big days as well. Steelers versus the Giants. I think this is a gimme. I look at the Giants. They can't score. I don't care who's playing quarterback and who's calling plays. That's a problem right now in New York. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the best defenses in the NFL. And, of course, the change at quarterback last week was good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think more explosive plays down the field in the passing game as well. And I like the Texans. I like the Texans at home coming off of that loss. I mentioned they're 7-0 after their last 7 losses. And I think C.J. Stroud has a big one against Gus Bradley's defense in Indianapolis.
We spread it out. We go 4 wide. We let our quarterback run the show. We go hurry up offense to get through as many games as possible to get you set for an absolutely loaded Sunday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
In the heart of downtown Las Vegas, a sports oasis awaits. Stadium Swim, the ultimate outdoor amphitheater, built for the ultimate sports fan, with a colossal screen that brings the game closer than ever. Reserve a daybed, private cabana, or lounge in the center of it all. 6 pools to dive into as the game heats up. And the best part, there's never an off-season. Open 365 days a year. Stadium Swim, it's always spectator season.
John Green and Ryan Kramer bring an energetic approach to sports betting to keep you entertained while sweating your bets on the Sports Gambling Podcast Live at VSiN.
There is something to the idea of the smart teams might be zagging. You see all the best offenses in the National Football League have a fullback.
If you like defense, if you like football, how can you not be okay with 2 high safeties?
Join Sean and Ryan every Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on the Sports Gambling Podcast Live at VSiN, right here on the Sports Betting Network.
watching VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We're 15 minutes away from kickoff of 8 NFL games. 8 games in that 1 o'clock window. 14 games in total today, 5 in the 4 o'clock window, and then the prime-timer, San Francisco hosting the Dallas Cowboys. That's our MVP, Rich Gannon, 2002 with the Oakland Raiders. I'm Tim Murray here in Las Vegas at the Circa Sportsbook. And, Rich, we like to close out VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show with a little up-tempo offense, the way you like it, right? Spread it out. Don't need that coach in your ear. Just let it fly down the field, right, Rich?
Let's do it, brother. I'm all about 2-minute offense. Let's roll.
All right, here we go. Hurry up offense. We start in Cincinnati. No T. Higgins today for the Cincinnati Bengals, but we're seeing some late money at some shops come in on the Bengals. Circa has now moved to 3. DraftKings has moved to 3 as well. So late support for the Cincinnati Bengals against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, I like Philly getting the points on the road, Tim. I mentioned that at the start of the show. Saquon Barkley ran all over his former team in Week 7, rushing for 176 yards. I think Philly's going to need another strong performance from him to have a chance today as Joe Burrow. And the Bengals are starting to find their groove on both sides of the ball, but I really like Philly getting the points.
Cincinnati, once again, coming into this game 3-4. The Eagles at 4-2, a half game back of Washington in the NFC East. They are slight favorites to win that division currently at plus 110. The biggest need for Circa today in the early window, believe it or not, the Baltimore Ravens. They would like the Ravens to win and cover against the Cleveland Browns. Myles Garrett dressed up as the Terminator. He's ready to wreak some havoc in the backfield today with Lamar Jackson, who is right now your favorite to win the MVP. What do we expect from Derrick Henry, your favorite to win Offensive Player of the Year? Jameis Winston, Rich, gets the start for the Cleveland Browns as they are a 7-point home underdog to the Ravens.
Yeah, Baltimore has won 5 straight, in large part to their running game and the play of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. But the passing game, I think, has benefited as a direct result. Baltimore is currently first in both rushing and passing offense. Meanwhile, the Browns have failed to score 20 points in a game this season. I think it's still going to be a long day for Cleveland.
All right, let's keep it rolling. The Detroit Lions, people can't get enough of them. I don't know if it's a love of Detroit, a hate of Tennessee, or maybe a little bit of both. Right now, Detroit, a 12.5-point favorite. The biggest favorite on the board are the Detroit Lions taking on the Tennessee Titans as Mason Rudolph goes into Detroit. I think Detroit, not going on a massive limb here, best team in the NFC. Do they roll as a 12.5-point favorite at Ford Field against Tennessee?
I think a big reason why that number is so high, Tim, is that the Titans have to find a way to get more out of the quarterback position because the lack of consistency in production has been too much for them to overcome each week. Lions, on the other hand, have no issues with their quarterback, Jared Goff, who been nearly perfect here the last 4 games. He's completing 83%, 9 touchdowns, just 1 interception. I think the Lions offense and the Ravens offense are 2 best offenses through the first 7 weeks of the season.
Miami gets Tua back, and this is a number that continues to move in Miami's favor here at Circa. It is now a 5-point spread in favor of the Miami Dolphins. Total sits at 46 or 46.5. 4.5s are still out there if you do like the Miami Dolphins. What do we expect to see from Tua after a 4-week absence due to the concussion?
Yeah, Miami has gone 5 straight games where they've scored 15 points or less. That should change today with the return of Tua Tagovailoa. Not quite sure what to make of the 3-4 Cardinals after 7 games, other than that they're one of the most inconsistent teams in the league. I think Tua gets off to a good start. I think it certainly helps to have the fastest and most explosive offense in football when you consider Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, and Devon Achane. I think they're going to have a good day against that Cardinals defense.
Tyreek Hill has not scored a touchdown since week 1 against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but the betting market recognizes that Tua is back. He is plus 120 for an anytime touchdown. I think that might be worth a look there. Tyreek Hill to find the end zone for the first time since week number 1. The New England Patriots, they are home dogs today, catching 7 against the New York Football Jets. Surprising inactive here, Allen Lazard out for the Jets. Does Devontae Adams step up in his second game as a member of that organization? Jets, a touchdown favorite on the road today against New England.
I like this game, Tim. You got two desperate teams. Jets have lost 4 straight, while the Patriots have lost 6 straight. The Jets are still searching for an identity on offense. I really believe that. I think Breece Hall is the key to it. Not having Lazard Hurts, Devontae Adams should be a week better. But you look at the Pats, they're focused on developing their rookie quarterback, Drake May. We talked to Michael Lombardi earlier about what's happening with Gerard Mayo. They seem like a fish out of water to me when you look at that operation right now. The Jets should have no problem taking care of business on the road at Foxborough.
No Chris Godwin, no Mike Evans, who will step up as a pass catcher for Baker Mayfield this afternoon. Money at Circa is coming in, though, on the road, or the home dog, I beg your pardon, here in Tampa Bay. This game down to 1. Still some 2s out there. Chicago at Washington. Total sitting at 46. Atlanta at Tampa. I beg your pardon. I was looking at the board and read the wrong game. 47 out there, Rich, for this game, Atlanta, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, look, 2 explosive offenses featuring 2 quarterbacks who are capable of putting up some big numbers each time out. You combine that with the fact that both pass defenses have been very erratic, and I really like the over in this game. I know we don't have Chris Godwin and we don't have Mike Evans. I think Baker Mayfield will make do with the wide receivers that he has at his disposal. Kirk Cousins is, remember the last time that these two teams got together, Kirk Cousins threw for over 500 yards, a franchise record. I like the over in this game.
Yeah, 47 right now. If you do like the over like Rich, there's 47.5s out there, so you're starting to see that money trickle in on the over. Tampa Bay, once again, with the injuries that they're dealing with, a home dog situation here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another home dog situation in the Sunshine State, the Jacksonville Jaguars, fresh off of their 2-week trip over to London, and Doug Peterson, maybe thanks in part to a win over the Patriots, still has a job as a Jaguars head coach. And interesting to note here, money coming in on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Derek Stevens, in case you missed it, said the 3rd biggest need for the house in today so far would be the Green Bay Packers. Money coming in on the Jaguars. We might see a 3 at some point, 3.5 even money right now in favor of the Green Bay Packers, Rich, on the road at Jacksonville.
Yeah, Jaguars are back in the States. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, Tim, but it is what it is. They were 1-1 over in London. I think offensively they have played better here the last 3 weeks. I think defensively they still have a ways to go. We talked about Jordan Love's freewheeling ways continue last week. He threw for 3 touchdowns, but he also had 2 interceptions. He needs to cut down on the mistakes. He's already thrown 8 interceptions this year. I love his aggressiveness. I mean, he reminds me of a young Brett Favre, a young Aaron Rodgers. He's got real arm talent, but he's got to curb the enthusiasm once in a while and be a little bit more disciplined from under center. Big
performance from Tank Bigsby last Sunday over in London. 26, 118, 2 touchdowns. His over-under 65.5. No ETN today for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Easy for me to say. So the Jacksonville Jaguars will be leaning on the former Auburn running back. Last game to hit on in this 1 o'clock window here, Rich, will be a division showdown in the AFC South. The Houston Texans, off of that loss to the Green Bay Packers a week ago, losing 24-22. Less than 100 yards passing from C.J. Stroud. And the Texans are a 5-point favorite at most books, 4.5-point favorite here at Circa against the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, 2 teams with second-year quarterbacks. I'm not sure the Colts know yet what they have in Anthony Richardson, who's completing the league low 48% of his passes, but I'm certain the Texans know what they have in C.J. Stroud. They've got somebody special. Last year's Offensive Rookie of the Year. Trust me when I say C.J. Stroud is a rare talent. I always take the team that has the better quarterback, the better play caller, and I think the better head coach. DeMeco Ryans has done an amazing job with that operation in just a little over a year. This quarterback has rare talent. I think he's going to have a big day today against Gus Bradley's Colts defense.
8 games in the 1 o'clock Eastern window. Jaden Daniels, 4:25 Eastern, going to try to give it a go against the Chicago Bears. 5th time we will have a number 1 pick versus a number 2 pick in this most recent NFL draft. Hey, folks, here at VSiN, we got you loaded all day long. The content never stops as we've got Live Bet Sunday coming up right here after the Pro Football Tailgate. Just saw Dustin Sweetelson walk in. He'll have you covered with Wes Reynolds and Jeff Schwartz. And later on tonight, it's Ready, Set, Bet with Matt Brown and Mike Somich, and then close out the evening with Cashing Out with Joe Serralo. Rich, great stuff today. Always fun to chat Sunday Night Football, Cowboys-Niners. Who you got?
I like the Niners. When in doubt, you have to take the more physical team, the team that can run the ball. I think Jordan Mason has a big night against that Dallas front seven.
Yeah, I think Jordan Mason over under 79.5 somewhere to look there. Hey, thanks to everyone who joined the show. Michael Lombardi, John Hansen, Brent Musburger, Derek Stevens. Thanks to everyone, including our producer Bill, everyone behind the scenes. For our MVP, Rich Gannon, I'm Tim Murray. Have yourself a great Sunday. Live Bet Sunday coming up next right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It's that magical time of year, the sports equinox, when all 4 major sports are in action.